This is the only platform. Ironically, it's YouTube that lets me go live. Everything else, not quite.
Blocked, censored.
I wonder why they want to censor the information. Like,
right?
Why are they so scared of the things that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it? All right.
I wonder why.
Right. I wonder why.
Because non-compliance with is the way through building a new system. That's why.
Non-compliance, non-violent, civil disobedience is just, that's only answer. So it's here, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on both YouTube and Zoom. So let me put, there we go. So the Biden administration has now released what we knew was happening since the beginning of these lockdowns. And we are seeing the mandatory medical procedures are now put in place nationwide. But, you know, I was actually looking for a book and I'm going to introduce us real quick, but I didn't see it. It's called The Constitution for Babies. My son reads this, and I really think that Americans need to take note. So hello, everyone. I am Denise, co-founder of Freedom Angels, and we're going to do a quick 15-minute video on what is happening in the United States of America right now.
That's right. Hi, everyone. I'm Tara, co-founder of Freedom Angels as well. And I love it, Denise. Constitution for Babies. Come on, this is actually basic, basic principles of sovereignty of a human being. Remember, slavery, bad. You know, human rights, protecting them, good. Basically as simple as that.
Unbelievable. So I know some people missed the announcement. So I'm going to read through what this announcement is, just so you're ready. I mean, and when you listen to this, just take a deep breath, relax, you know, stand up and say no. So this is what it is. President Biden today announced his 6-pillar plan. 1, federal employee vaccine mandates with no testing option. 2, and encouraging states and private businesses to do the same. Booster shots for the vaccinated. Keep schools open. Increase testing and mandatory masking. Economic recovery. Improving care for COVID-19 patients. All employers with more than 100 workers must require vaccination or weekly testing. It will be enacted through OSHA. And will come with a $14,000 fine per violation. Expansion of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, vaccination requirements to hospitals, home health agencies, and dialysis centers. 17 million healthcare workers at facilities that receive Medicare and Medicaid must be vaccinated. Required vaccination of executive branch employees and contractors who do business with the federal government. No testing options. Religious and medical exemptions will apply, yeah, right? Employees of Head Start programs, schools run by DOD and Bureau of Indian Education must be vaccinated. Calls for large venues to require proof of vaccination or negative C-19 test. This is it, folks. This is the whole entire enchilada that we're seeing of the vaccine passports. And I really like that little sneaky asshole to go in there and be like, you guys have options, but we're going to cut your Medicaid and Medicare funding in nursing homes if you don't. Like, is it really an option?
Right. Oh, yeah, I know. That's always the classic. Oh, you have a choice. You have a choice. No, I'm sorry. If you coerce anyone, it's force. If you required or mandated, if you put them, you pit basic needs and basic freedoms of movement and to work and to live and exist or go to school or, against, again, another the most inviolable human right, which is to own your own body, to own your own decisions around your body, then, otherwise you're a slave. So yeah, they always use that line. Oh, you have a choice.
That's what they
you
told
can comply or
right.
You can.
They said that with our kids when the whole entire world labeled us because we were fighting for this. We said, adults, it's coming. Don't think it's not going to come for you. And they said, well, you can homeschool. You have a choice. Well, it's full circle now, folks. Like this is not a game. This is like serious shit. And if you're not ready, and if you're not ready to rock and roll and have all your A, B, and C plans in place, you're going to panic. So we're here to kind of lay out why you shouldn't be panicking. You really, as Americans, have the whole power in your hand right now. You think you don't. It's a game of chicken. It's a freaking game of chicken. That's all it is.
100%. Everything is set up in a challenge scenario. And the point is challenge back. And that includes honestly, do not accept any slave terms. And if this is around, your employment that you're facing it, then get into conversation with other employees, get into conversation with the executive or ownership branch of, where you work. If you're in a bigger private corporation, look into employee resource groups. We have trainings and teachings and models on how to do that, which is a way to organize from within and fight back to protect human rights, the right to medical privacy, medical choice, informed consent, non-harassment, non-discrimination, all those pieces. But basically, like Denise said, it's a game of chicken, and it's also a game of luck. If someone, it's the ultimate segregation. If you are going to do this to human, if your business, any business, from a restaurant to a corporate position or a government agency, if you're going to require anything like this, you're on the wrong side of history, and you need to be called out for what you are. Not only slave catchers, that our friend Kevin Jenkins likes to say, but also that this is the line in the sand for humanity. You have to step aside, and even if you, whatever your choices are, you have to decide that we don't do this to other human beings. And like Denise said, though, besides non-compliance, we're also talking about building out a new model. If you want to change something, you got to build a new model, make the old one obsolete. It's the classic Buckminster Fuller saying, and that is what we are all doing. That's what we all need to do. And at the same time, tell them no way, no on the tyranny, no on the slave terms.
It's all of it, right? Like, Biden comes out and he's like, our patience is wearing thin with you unvaccinated. I don't care about your patience. And this is exactly right. I don't. What? So much from us already. I don't even care anymore. Like, yes, for my household, this means a big deal, right? This is a big deal. But I'm not going to be scared of our government. That is called something. When they are scared of us, this also calls something. And this is really, the power is in all of us. We just have to grow a pair and do a multi-day strike. Let these people who are participating in this, good luck, right? Because it's already hard enough finding employees right now. And it's even harder to retrain, especially if you're at the top of the pyramid, right? Like these large corporations who have these top people who are saying, I'm not going to do it. So one day of engagement isn't going to work. One day of protest isn't going to work. We're seeing in France and Australia, they have been back-to-back days, people nonviolent, non-compliance, civil disobedience. And I know, Tara, when we kicked off civil disobedience in California, like we were playing around in 2019 with SB 276. This was the framework for what we're seeing now. What did we do? We locked mothers to the front of the doors of the Capitol. We locked in loving arms across the driveways. You're not going to do this to us. And before that, they labeled us anti-vaxxers, right? Now our one issue is a global issue, and it's no longer just a labeling. Now these are people who are like, look, I'm vaccinated, but my friend doesn't. And I don't think that this should happen. It's all about choice. So it's no longer just people who aren't participating in the program. It's people who are like, wait a minute, I don't like that. I don't like being told what to do with my body.
Oh, 100%. And actually, back to Kevin Jenkins again, that's of Urban Global Health Alliance and Freedom Travel Alliance. He has my favorite way of handling the anti-vax thing. I hate when people say I'm not anti-vax. Come on, just stop with that on all the forms. But I love what he says. He's like, I'm anti anything that enslaves humanity. I'm anti anything that hurts my children. It's basically the right framing. But you talk about the 2 years ago, the Occupy we did it for 11 days. You can't, and guess what? These are feats of sacrifice and endurance. That is what is needed. Just like in New Jersey, 3 different days of 14-hour, outside the Senate window when we were fighting the removal of the religious exemption there. It takes extended periods of engagement. And like Denise said, as far as the workforce, we have a situation where the employees, it's an employees world right now. Let's be honest. Everyone is looking for employees. There's a shortage of it. A lot of it's been by design. It's weakened the work, the business structures, the systems within businesses. What that means is classic union tactics around striking, or if people have a no strike clause in their contract. I mean, there's ways, sometimes people have to take sick days, and which is a legal thing for them to do. This gives them the ability to get in there and negotiate, because when nobody's listening to you, no one wants to do any of these things ever. Who would ever want to do this? But when the extremists, I'll call it, they're acting as terrorists, and we don't normally negotiate with terrorists, but this is what you have to do. You have to strong arm. You have to fight back, resist. Think all the classic campaigns through history that fought for human rights and civil rights, and it's the same thing. Peaceful engagement, sustained, organized, targeted to your scenario, whether it's your employer or through, restaurants or event centers, whatever has to be done peacefully.
Right here, Gina says, I feel bad for the school employees. I mean, if you're going to comply with this, I don't feel bad for you at all. You're part of the problem if you go along with this. This is, like Kevin Jenkins says, if you're even participating in being coerced and showing your papers and forcing muzzles, you are part of the problem. Now, schools, I'm sorry, but they're the weakest link in all of this. And parents really have the school system right now. You guys have them by the things. Like, you can pull your children out of school and find a homeschool pod. You know how much our children are worth to the school system? Break the whole damn system and start over again. And start with homeschool pods. Start with private education associations. This is where we talk about it's time to reimagine everything, right? Our health, our education, our finances, everything. We have an opportunity to build back better, like what Biden administration likes to say. So, it's time to break the system. And Tara and I talk about so many different ways that you can do that. And, Tara talked about the 504s.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're actually spot on about the schools are the weakest link. Basically, parents, one of the things that we said during our 11-day Occupy, really want people to know what we had, the sign that we actually said, "Welcome to Calabama, y'all." We grabbed that phrase from someone else. But it was referencing, we were saying, we're going to march the kids through the schoolroom doors, whether it's here in California or in New York, Newsom, Cuomo, whoever, they were going to be, and those are who we were calling out, the two tyrants who've been, the people are fed up with. We said, you're going to be the next George Wallace. If you don't know who that is, it was a governor of Alabama who fought desegregation. He stood in front of the schoolroom doors and tried to block the desegregation efforts. And history does not look kindly on that level of human rights violation and discrimination. So we kept saying, look, we're going to walk them through the schoolroom doors. Well, that's where we are now. We never thought it would be around masks or testing. We always knew it would be around vaccines. So we said, and this is the same thing. When we hear, stop with the unmask our kids, just stop with it. No one's putting a mask on your child but you. And I understand that we're all up against different pressures, but this is a very personal decision that each parent has to make for their family and their child. And if you made that decision, don't walk around with the unmask our child, my child sign. But you know what you can do? You can organize and fight back for the schools. The kids in Michigan 2 days ago, parents in Michigan, they walked the kids walked through the schoolroom doors without their masks on. And the parents stood there backing them up. The sheriff didn't stop it. The principals moved aside because they can't touch these kids. They do not have the ability to do that. They make you feel like they do. That's really the thing. And the real tyrants will keep making it hard on you. Again, game of chicken. They keep challenging you back. They might even arrest you, but they still, this is that point that we're at, that you still have to fight even at that level. We've been arrested, and it's you have to take a principled stand, but also know you're in a game of chicken, and it's worth every effort to fight peacefully. Yep. And for schools, the 504s that Denise are referencing is a model that we've been working on, and there's various ways that people out there that are familiar with it. It's a pathway for children who do not to go. You request a 504 meeting, and it is to protect your rights to breathe and around your respiratory tract and your ability to breathe. Because let's be honest, kids. This is around kids' ability to think, to function, to feel comfortable and proper in that environment. And if they do not in any way, if your child in any way cannot concentrate or focus or emotionally work well with that, then you qualify for a 504 and you can ask for a meeting. And we're finishing up the final template on how to do that. And the schools have to accommodate it. This is a federal protection under the Office of Civil Rights. Every school and every school district is well aware of what careful road they have to walk around 504s. They cannot violate your request for meetings. They cannot violate the process of accommodation. And so pay attention. Yes, sign up for freedom-angels.org, where we're going to get that out within a few days, template to help guide you.
Yeah. And, and again, the Constitution for babies. People need to understand the legislative process, right? They need to understand that Los Angeles Unified School District cannot add a vaccine to their mandatory list in order to enroll. They cannot do that. There are branches of government that have to decide on these laws and policies. And so I'm really, really irritated that Senator Pan and these tyrants go down to these schools and really make them believe that. Guess what? Schools are going to freaking close. Pull your kids. And I'm to a point, we're at the end of the road, right? This is the end of the line. And my niceness is no longer there anymore. And my coddling is no longer there anymore. When I hear people say, I had to get it so I can keep my job. I had to get it so I can, I have kids. I have to get a job. Yeah, we all have something, right? We all have something. But this is where you hold the line. And if you don't get that job, or if you get fired because you are not willing to participate in one big ass experiment, then so be it. And I don't say this lightly. I'm not saying it as we already have this going on, so just do it. Just do it. Literally, my family will lose it all because we will not comply. But my body and my children's body belongs to us. I do not negotiate with these people. I will absolutely not put myself, my family at risk for a job. I'll create a PMA. I will work as independent as possibly can. And if I have to, I will live off grid. I'm just not going to do it. We're at a point to where we build our own communities, right? This is plan B and C. If this doesn't work, then we've already put in place a new way forward, a new community with our own doctors, our own nurses, our true healthcare, our true education pods, and really working as a village, because I'm not going to deal with this anymore. You know what I mean? Pray and we bring each other in and we create something else, because this new world stuff just isn't my jam.
No, and we're doing, Denise and I are going to do a whole bunch of series on the pillars of building a new society. And it's really, and even though it's plan B or C right now, ultimately it's plan A, right? The world's messed up. It was messed up before 2020. This is our opportunity to say, okay, it's what I thought this life was going to be is actually going to be different. I'm going to have to pull up roots, move careers, move jobs, move companies, move schools, move communities, whatever you need to do, or build new ones, whatever you need to do. This is our opportunity to get it so much better. Everything that ever pained you before, that ever was a soul glitch or you knew was not aligned with, a society that functioned as a support structure instead of a cage, of a society that wasn't really protecting human rights, truth, honesty, like all the things. This is our opportunity to do it and to be outside of a complete slave system, which is what this is. It's been set up that way for a long time. This is just the next leveling of it to all humans in all ways. And, through the technocracy, through the development of technology and the new transhumanistic agenda. This is literally where we're at and where we're going. And like, Denise said, no one would ever say this is easy, but those things that like those painful changes that you've fought in your life. And then all of a sudden you start to take the steps and you realize you're actually now building the life that you wanted and the world that really fit you better. That's where we're all at. And on top of that too, the beautiful thing, just like when we were talking around organizing within your work environment, it's the same thing. There are people everywhere in need of employees. And as people that have companies who will hold the line and protect human rights and civil rights and such, they are going to have the best workforce in the nation, no matter even if they're in California under deep tyranny or the less clear version of tyranny happening from Florida to everywhere else.
Yeah.
They'll have the best employees, and you can go and suddenly be working with like-minded people everywhere. You're not then just suddenly a nurse or a waitress or a whatever it might be, a teacher. You are now that, and you are fighting for the future of humanity. You are now a social architect and engineer building the new way forward.
Yep. And I saw a comment here. So PMAs are private membership associations. They move you from the public domain to the private domain. I mean, you can do your own research and look up social clubs. These are how dry counties operate. We also have under our Freedom Angels 2.0 YouTube channel, we have a 5-piece webinar series on how this is structured. And we also help you create your founding documents. So that's just some homework that you can do for yourself as business owners. You can even, if you're a medical professional, you can create your private healthcare associations. If you are trying to create homeschool pods, you can create your private education associations. And this is really where the solutions come. So right now, because we are at the end of the road, when you do a protest, when you go to a protest, it's no longer about standing there holding a sign. It's not about sitting there with your group and just listening to people. It's about real action and real strategy. So when you go to a protest, you go and you network and you talk to people and you gather with people in your county and just anywhere to create the spaces that you need for your homeschool pods, for your employment, for your extracurricular activities. All the things that you need are available to you. It just takes you getting off of your butt when you're at a protest and to go and network and really create this. And I say this with love. I'm not trying to attack anybody. I know it's hard. I'm an introvert. So it's really hard for me to go and to network, but this is where we got to do it. Otherwise, you're going to be sending your children to school with mass weekly testing and vaccines. And then you're going to go to work having to go through 5 boosters a year, including all the other things that they want you to go through. And when you do protest, go with a plan. Like when you go for one day of protest, you should be ready to create something the very next day and the very next day. One day of engagement does not work. It hasn't worked for us. And so I wanted to do this video with you, Tara. I wanted to talk to people, let them know there's other ways, there's other options. But now is a time to wear all your hats. You are going to go through turbulence right now. It's not going to be easy. It never is. But we have, along with many other different people, we have tools available to you to fight back to where you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can gather the information that we have and apply that to your situation. So I'm hoping that people don't comply and stop being scared of your government. That's not why a government was created. We need to take back our power, take back the ability that we created this. We created our states. And so now it's time to really understand how our Constitution works. That piece of paper is not going to help you. What does help you is you protecting that piece of paper and using it in your everyday life to say, no, I'm not gonna let you do this. So
exactly.
Before we end?
Yeah, again, protests, absolutely don't waste the time. Like Denise said, like we would never call it a waste of time. Don't, let's see, maximize the time. That's the way to say it. Maximize it. So when you are there, again, even if you're an introvert, just make the efforts to connect with people, make the efforts especially to connect with local people and local groups. That's super key. And then the biggest thing of all is build in your community. Build a tribe on the ground with the people in your region. Connect, start a group if there isn't one that fits you. Network with the ones that are there as well. You know, everyone has learned now that they need to work at the local county level, from school boards to board of supervisors or commissioners to just within their own, you know, chambers of commerce locally and the local, you know, all the local players from private to public to community members. That is where we move this. And that is where we have the power, the most power. This is also, we all want a good Supreme Court decision. We all want Nuremberg trials, but that isn't just us wanting them and showing up occasionally, you know, in various places. This is, we have to live it and embody it and build it from the ground up. We want those decisions. We want those court cases to go well. Well, we decide that by what we, the people, do on the ground and what we stand for, what we allow, what we don't allow, and what we create. So it's really, those decisions are in our hands, and everything we need to create the world we want is already within each one of us. None of us has to change who we are right now to participate in shifting in non-compliance and building up another world. And then as last thing I'm so glad you brought up LAUSD. This is specific to California. LAUSD and then Culver City, they're trying to say they can mandate the COVID vaccine for kids. And I love that Denise is like, yeah, Constitution for Dummies, guys. Look at like how this process goes. We happen to and Denise and I are not fans of exemptions because, again, there should be no asking permission for this. In fact, we need people to be taking over school boards so they work to eradicate any form of exemption and anything like that, and these quarantines and these testing and masks, all of them. But in California in 2015, we lost the legislative battle against SB 277. One of the amendments that was put in after this long battle was called number 11. We call it number 11, and it's that any other vaccines added to the schedule beyond the 10 that were there in 2015 has a personal belief exemption available, unless the only other way it won't be there. So officially, they say in the paperwork that the California Department of Public Health has to make that request for a personal belief exemption to be available to all people, along with a medical exemption. But the truth is anything that doesn't follow the legislative process is coming from state public health. Even if it's the governor making an executive order, he's referring back to the state public health department, the Department of HHS. And so guess what? We're going to challenge you back at every level on this. The only way in California they can come at you and say your school is required to have a COVID vaccine is if the legislature of California, the Senate and the Assembly, take that on themselves and they own that dark spot that will follow them for life. Yep. That's how they have to do it, through the legislative channels, and then they can do it. And then they don't have to grant a PBE. That's a personal belief exemption. They could, but that's the only way, right, Denise?
Absolutely. So guys, start understanding how legislative process works. Start recognizing and studying who your board of supervisor members are, who your city council members are, who your mayor is. A lot of people just aren't familiar with who any of these people are. So go online, look at their faces, understand who they are, know their names so you can call them out. Get involved in local government. Your local board of supervisors can absolutely protect your county, but you need to be very well organized. So have a meeting at the park with like-minded people. Start getting involved, because this is not going away. We're never going to go back to a new normal. It's never going to loosen up. It's only going to get worse. Utah is already implementing their trials for the digital driver's license, which includes your health information, your vaccine information, your credit score, your social credit. It's all of it. So just understand what's going on, be fully engaged. You can follow us at freedom-angels.org. Our email is freedomangels2.0@protonmail.com. I am also on Telegram under t.me/the-informed-mama209. If you are on Facebook, look out for Stand Up Sacramento. There's some information and some movement coming out from that county. You need to be involved. This is going to be like cancer if we don't start getting involved quickly. So thank you very much. I appreciate everyone being here. Please share the information. I am banned off all social media sites. So please share it. Let everybody know what's going on, and please talk to your neighbors.